A paper cup hits the marble floor and coffee spreads like a stain no donation can erase. Marcus Webb kneels, already reaching for towels, when a man in a tailored suit points at the mess like it's a verdict. In the corridor's glass, Marcus catches his own reflection, high collar, a thin scar at the throat, eyes steady but far away. "Now," the man snaps. The headmaster doesn't flinch. Neither does Marcus, because the truth he carries is heavier than any bucket. If stories about quiet dignity, hidden sacrifice, and public reckonings matter to you, subscribe and stay with us, because the next hallway conversation changes how everyone sees Marcus Webb. Riverside Preparatory Academy smells like lemon polish and expensive perfume, the kind that clings to velvet curtains in the auditorium and rides the heat from old radiators. Morning light slants through leaded windows, turning the corridor into a museum of privilege. Framed Ivy League acceptances, lacquered trophy cases, and a wall of honor plaque that glints whenever someone walks past without looking. Marcus Webb, 52, arrives before the first security alarm finishes its cycle. He moves with a quiet, measured economy. Key ring never jingling, cartwheels never squeaking. His custodian jacket hangs plain on his shoulders, but he keeps the collar high. When he bends to replace a trash liner, the fabric shifts and a pale scar flashes at the base of his throat before he covers it again, almost automatically. His mouth tightens barely, then smooths back into calm. Down in the basement supply room, he checks inventory with the same precision he uses to line up mop heads. His fingers pause at the inside pocket of his jacket for half a second, pressing something flat and cold. He doesn't pull it out. He just breathes in through his nose, slow, controlled, and keeps working. Parent conference week turns the school louder and sharper. SUVs idle by the front steps. Leather shoes click across tile. Lanyards swing from necks like credentials to a private country. Dr. Richard Brennan, 48, the headmaster, glides through it all in a pressed suit, smiling the way someone smiles when they already know they're winning. Ashley Carmichael, 35, literature faculty and a senator's daughter, speaks to parents in soft, performative concern, then lets her gaze pass through Marcus as if he's part of the drywall. Thomas Whitmore, 44, tech CEO, arrives late and irritated, phone still at his ear. He ends a call with a sharp laugh and steps into the corridor just as Marcus finishes buffing a shine into the marble. Whitmore takes one deliberate sip of coffee. Then, with a small twist of his wrist, he lets it spill. The cup drops. Coffee blooms across the floor. "Hey," Whitmore says, chin lifted. "Clean that up. Now. Not after the meeting." Marcus's eyes flick to the spreading puddle, then back to Whitmore. No argument, only a faint narrowing at the corners, the kind that vanishes as quickly as it appears. Dr. Brennan's voice lands like a stamp. "Marcus, do it. That's what we pay you for." Marcus kneels. The scar at his throat pulls slightly as he swallows. As he wipes, his gaze drifts, one heartbeat, toward the wall of honor plaque, where military names sit in neat rows catching the light. Above them, somewhere outside, a helicopter passes. Marcus's shoulder gives a tiny, involuntary hitch before he steadies it, towel still moving in clean, perfect circles. And no one in that hallway understands what they're really watching. 2 hours before the fundraiser, Riverside's auditorium turns into a stage set for virtue. Warm spotlights wash over navy blue drapes. Tall vases of white lilies perfume the air until it feels almost medicinal. A string quartet tunes in the corner, their notes slipping between the clink of champagne flutes. Behind the curtains, folding chairs scrape and thump as staff rush to make everything look effortless. Marcus Webb moves through it like a shadow with purpose, carrying stacks of programs and a coil of extension cord. His palms stay dry. His jaw sits slightly forward, a habit of restraint. When a parent brushes past and mutters, "Watch it," Marcus only shifts his weight and keeps walking, eyes fixed on the line of chairs he is aligning down to the inch. At the edge of the stage he pauses, just a breath, at a framed poster listing, "Honored Veterans Night." His thumb presses through fabric against the inside pocket of his jacket. Something hard and flat answers back. He releases it and continues. Breadcrumb 2. From the lobby doors, Dr. Richard Brennan surveys the room like a general who has never heard a shot fired. He adjusts his cufflinks and murmurs to Ashley Carmichael, "Tonight has to land. Donors want a story they can applaud." Ashley smiles without warmth. Her eyes flick to Marcus, then away. He'll keep the floors shiny. That's his contribution. A student volunteer, Olivia Hartman, 16, scholarship kid, anxious hands, stands near the program table and watches Marcus with a kind of puzzled respect. She sees how he lifts the heavy water pitchers. No strain in the shoulders, no wasted motion, as if his body follows rules he never has to think about. When Brennan snaps his fingers at an assistant, Olivia flinches. Marcus doesn't. 90 minutes before doors open, Thomas Whitmore returns, phone glued to his ear again. He strides across the newly set lobby, sees Marcus rolling a bin of folded chairs, and decides the room needs to know who matters. "Hey, custodian," Whitmore calls, loud enough to draw eyes. "These chairs? They better not wobble. My wife sits down and something breaks. I'm calling my lawyer." Marcus slows. His gaze lifts, calm but distant, like he's looking past Whitmore at something farther away. His mouth tightens a fraction, then smooths. "I check every hinge," he says, voice low. Whitmore laughs, sharp and performative. Listen to him. So serious. "You know what, Brennan? You should put his name on a plaque, too. For outstanding mopping." Brennan chuckles, as if it's a clever remark instead of cruelty. Marcus understands the hierarchy here. Ashley glides closer, her perfume sweet and expensive. She tilts her head at Marcus's high collar. "It's hot in here. You hiding a hickey under that thing?" Her tone turns into a playful knife. Or is it just embarrassment? Marcus's throat works once, the scar pulling tight under fabric. His fingers flex on the chair frame, one quick squeeze, then relax. He slides the chair into place with careful precision. "Excuse me," he says, stepping around her without touching her. Olivia, still by the programs, watches Ashley's smile falter for a split second, an irritation she can't hide. Olivia's eyes dart to Marcus's neck when his collar shifts. A pale line, a healed edge that doesn't belong in a prep school hallway. 30 minutes before the first guests arrive, a low thudding rolls in from outside. Helicopter blades, distant but unmistakable. Marcus freezes mid-step. His shoulders rise a hair, then lock. His eyes unfocus, pupils tightening as if the auditorium lights suddenly turn into desert glare. His knuckles whiten around the chair back. A new voice breaks through the sound. Steady, worn, not cruel. "Hey," someone says quietly. "You okay?" It's Staff Sergeant Daniel Klein, 26, Afghanistan veteran, now a security contractor hired for the event. He stands near the stage doors, suit jacket stretched over a frame that still carries military discipline. A service dog patch peeks from his bag, though no dog is present. Klein's gaze flicks to Marcus's posture, then to the scar line. Recognition doesn't fully form, but suspicion does. Marcus blinks once, twice. The thudding fades. He exhales through his nose like he's counting down from something only he can hear. "Yeah," he answers. "Just noise." Klein nods slowly, not buying it, not pushing. "Noise does that," he says, and his tone carries a private understanding. Guests begin flowing in. Silk dresses, crisp blazers, wristwatches that catch the light like small mirrors. A banner reads, "Honoring those who served." Cameras flash as if sacrifice is a backdrop. Marcus slips between people, collecting empty glasses, aligning chairs, erasing fingerprints from polished wood. On stage, Ashley takes the mic for a rehearsal check. Her voice rings through the auditorium. "Tonight we celebrate real heroes," she says, then lets her eyes drift to Marcus in the aisle. The kind who achieved something beyond pushing a broom. A few parents laugh politely. Whitmore laughs too loud. Marcus's face doesn't change, but his lower eyelid tightens, a flicker of pain sealed behind discipline. He sets a chair down with perfect care, as if the chair deserves more respect than the people speaking. Klein watches from the side aisle, his brows knitting. Olivia watches too, heart pounding, because she suddenly realizes the school is honoring veterans while humiliating one in plain sight. And then the lobby doors open wider, security shifts, heads turn, and a ripple of attention moves through the room as a man in a colonel's bearing steps inside. Marcus looks up. His hand goes instinctively to the inside pocket of his jacket, and the colonel's eyes lock onto him like a memory catching fire. The colonel pauses just inside the lobby doors, letting the noise wash around him. Riverside's chandelier light turns his metals into small, hard flashes. The air smells of lilies and champagne and waxed wood, too clean for the look in his eyes. Colonel James Rivera scans the room like he is counting exits out of habit. Then his gaze lands on Marcus Webb. Marcus stands in the side aisle with a stack of chair cushions against his ribs. His posture is straight, almost formal. His jaw sets forward a millimeter. His fingers tighten once on the fabric, then loosen. The high collar hides most of the scar, but not the tension beneath it. Rivera's face goes still, and for a beat the fundraiser's chatter dims as if someone turns down the volume. Staff Sergeant Daniel Klein sees it from the stage door. That sudden involuntary stop in a man trained not to stop. Klein's brows draw together. Across the lobby, Olivia Hartman shifts her weight, watching Rivera's eyes like they are tracking something only soldiers recognize. 10 seconds later, Marcus pivots toward the service hallway, not fast, not panicked, controlled, like he is avoiding a spotlight. He slips through the door marked "Staff Only," and the muffled music becomes a distant thrum behind him. The service corridor is narrower, painted an institutional beige that absorbs sound. A wall clock ticks too loudly. A cart of folded linens smells of bleach and dust. Marcus exhales through his nose, slow, counted, then opens the door to the basement stairwell. Downstairs the air turns cooler. Concrete walls sweat faintly. A single bulb hums above the supply room, throwing sharp shadows over mops and stacked boxes labeled paper goods. Marcus steps in, closes the door, and for the first time all night his shoulders drop a fraction, just enough to show the weight. He reaches into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulls out a Purple Heart. The ribbon is slightly faded at the edges. He holds it in his palm like it has its own gravity. His thumb rubs the metal once, twice, the way someone checks a pulse. His throat tightens. The scar pulls like a seam under strain. He swallows, and his eyes fix on nothing. The basement goes quiet, except for the hum of the bulb, and then another sound intrudes, not real but vivid, rotor blades chopping air. Marcus's left hand twitches. His lips part slightly as if tasting dust and cordite. His gaze flicks to the corner of the room, where there is only a mop bucket, but his body braces like it expects a door to blow inward. A different light overlays the basement's harsh bulb, an orange glare, sun burned into smoke. November 2004, Fallujah. The street is a corridor of shattered concrete. The air is thick with grit that crunches between teeth. Marcus, Sergeant Marcus Webb, presses his cheek to a wall and signals with 2 fingers. 8 Marines stack behind him, their breathing loud inside their own helmets. Somewhere down the block, automatic fire stutters like an angry machine. "Webb!" A voice snaps in his headset, young, tense, trying to sound calm. "We're pinned." Marcus's eyes narrow to slits. His mouth goes hard. He leans out just enough to read the angles, the windows, the shadows. A helicopter thumps overhead, too low, too close, and the sound hits his spine like a strike. He doesn't flinch. He can't. "Follow my line," he says, voice flat with command. "Move on my count." Colonel Rivera, then a captain, shifts behind him, and Marcus catches a glimpse of Rivera's face. Sweat, dust, the bright, sharp fear a leader hides so his men don't see it. Rivera's jaw trembles once before he locks it down. "Sergeant," Rivera says, "we need a way out." Marcus's gaze flicks to a gap between buildings, a narrow funnel of death. He feels the weight of 8 lives like a pack on his shoulders. He nods once. Then I make one. The first burst cracks over their heads, chewing the wall. Marcus doesn't curse. He breathes. He raises his hand, 3 fingers, then 2, then 1. Go. They run. Marcus moves last, backing into the open with his rifle up, dragging their retreat with controlled fire. He sees a muzzle flash bloom from a second-story window. He adjusts without thinking, body operating on rules written into muscle. He steps sideways, blocking the line of fire with himself because instinct decides it before conscience can. The impact hits his neck like a hammer. Heat. A wet rush down his collar. For a fraction of a second, the world tilts and sound narrows into a high, thin ring. Rivera's shout tears through the chaos. "Webb!" Marcus's hand clamps to his throat. Blood. His glove comes away slick and dark. His knees want to fold, but he forces them straight, eyes wide and furious at the idea of dying here. He makes a choking sound that is almost a laugh, because the absurdity of it burns hotter than the pain. "Keep moving," Marcus rasps. Don't stop." A Marine grabs his vest. "Sarge, you're hit." Marcus's eyes lock onto his. Unblinking, command. "Move." They drag him behind cover. The medic's hands press gauze to the wound. Marcus stares past them at the sky, blinking slow, forcing his breathing to obey. The helicopter's blades thud again, and this time his eyelid trembles, just once, before discipline slams it shut. Back in the basement, Marcus's fingers squeeze the Purple Heart so tightly the edge bites his skin. He releases it with a controlled breath, then slides it back into his pocket like he is putting a weapon away. Upstairs, the fundraiser applause swells at something Ashley says into a microphone, hollow, staged. Marcus hears it through the floor like distant artillery. He keeps his voice low, meant only for himself. "Not here," he says, a warning and a promise. Then the basement door handle turns. And on the other side, the footsteps pause, measured, confident, like someone who refuses to let the past stay buried. The basement door creaks inward, and a slice of warm auditorium light falls across concrete. Colonel James Rivera fills the doorway, shoulders squared, tie still perfect like he refuses to let his body admit what his eyes already know. Behind him, Staff Sergeant Daniel Klein hovers on the stairs, scanning corners out of instinct. Even Olivia Hartman slips in after them, breath caught, palms pressed to the railing like she's afraid the moment might run. The supply room smells of bleach, damp cardboard, and old floor wax. A single bulb buzzes overhead, making the Purple Heart in Marcus Webb's pocket feel heavier than metal. Marcus doesn't step back. He lifts his chin a fraction. Collar still high, scar still half hidden. His eyes stay steady, but the tiny twitch at the corner of his mouth betrays the strain. Rivera's gaze locks on Marcus's throat, then on the way Marcus stands. Feet planted, weight balanced, ready for impact. Rivera swallows, Adam's apple jumping once, and his voice comes out lower than the fundraiser version of himself. "Sergeant Webb?" he says. Marcus's jaw tightens. His fingers curl once, then flatten against his thigh. "Sir." That single word lands like a detonator. Rivera takes one step in, slow, like he's crossing a line he has carried for years. "Second Battle of Fallujah," he says, each syllable sharp. "November 2004? Marcus's eyes blink once, controlled, deliberate, like he is forcing a door to stay shut. Then he gives the smallest nod possible. Klein's brows shoot up. Olivia's mouth parts. She doesn't even realize she's holding her breath. Rivera exhales through his nose, and for a second the colonel looks less like a guest speaker and more like a man who has been living with a debt. "I knew that scar," he murmurs. His eyes shine hard, not with tears yet, but with pressure. "I know the way you carry weight. You're the reason I'm standing here." Marcus shifts his stance, a subtle pivot toward the shelves, like he wants to disappear into inventory labels and mop handles. His throat works once. "Sir, this is a school," he says softly. "They're waiting for you." Rivera's expression changes. Something steals. They can wait. In moments, Rivera turns and walks back up the stairs. He doesn't look behind him because he trusts Marcus will follow. Marcus hesitates, hand pressing the inside pocket of his jacket. The metal edge of the Purple Heart bites his thumb like a warning. He closes his eyes for half a heartbeat, then opens them and moves. Upstairs, the auditorium sound hits like surf. Laughter, clinking glasses. Ashley Carmichael's bright voice riding over a microphone. The stage lights make the room glow warm and forgiving, as if money can soften everything. Dr. Richard Brennan stands near the front, smiling with donor-ready teeth. Rivera steps onto the stage without asking permission. Ashley falters mid-sentence. Her smile freezes, then reforms too slowly. "Colonel Rivera, wonderful timing," she says. Voice sweet, confused eyes flicking toward Brennan for help. Rivera leans into the microphone. The sound system pops once, then settles. He doesn't start with a joke. He doesn't thank donors. His gaze sweeps the crowd, tailored suits, pearls, manicured hands, and then locks onto the side aisle. Marcus stands half in shadow beside a stack of folded chairs, custodian jacket plain against all that polish. His collar is still high. The scar still peeks out when he swallows. A camera phone lifts somewhere in the front row. A whisper spreads like a draft. Rivera's voice drops into command. "Before I say anything else," he says, "I need you to look at the man standing right there." Heads turn. Conversations die in pieces. Marcus feels the heat of eyes land on him and he keeps his posture neutral, but his lower eyelid tightens. Just once, like a muscle remembering grit and smoke. Thomas Whitmore's face shifts from amusement to irritation. "What is this?" he mutters, loud enough for the row to hear. Dr. Brennan steps forward, smile strained. "Colonel, we appreciate your service." "But," Rivera cuts him off without raising his voice. "You will wait." Brennan's smile cracks at the edges. Rivera points, not accusingly, but precisely, like he's marking coordinates. "That man is Marcus Webb, United States Marine Corps, infantry. He serves with my unit in Fallujah." Ashley's lips part. Her eyes flick to Marcus's collar, then down, then back up. A flash of unease crosses her face before she can hide it. Rivera continues, each sentence tightening the room like a drawn wire. "Our team gets pinned down. 8 Marines can't move. I can't move. We're taking fire from a second-story window." Marcus's hand slides into his jacket pocket, fingers closing around the Purple Heart through fabric. His shoulders remain level, but a tremor runs once through his forearm and stops. Rivera's eyes don't leave him. "Marcus Webb steps out anyway," Rivera says. "He creates the exit. He takes a round to the neck covering our retreat." A collective inhale ripples through the crowd. Rivera's voice sharpens, and now it isn't a speech. It's a statement of record. "He saves my life and the lives of 8 other Marines. Purple Heart." Rivera's gaze hardens with something like shame directed at the room. "And a Navy Cross." Silence hits the auditorium so clean it feels physical. Whitmore's face drains, jaw slackening. Ashley's cheeks flush hot. She swallows, throat bobbing, eyes darting away as if she can't stand to be seen looking at him. Brennan's pupils widen, and his smile becomes a thin, helpless line. Marcus stays where he is, still as a flag in no wind. His eyes shine faintly under the lights, not proud, guarded. His mouth opens, then closes again, as if he refuses to let the room turn his worst day into their inspiration. Rivera's next words land with controlled fury. "Some of you just watched him mop up coffee like he's less than human," he says, "and you call yourselves grateful." Marcus's gaze drops for a beat, a micro flinch of discomfort. Then he lifts it again, steady, unyielding, because he will not beg for dignity. Rivera steps down from the stage, moving straight toward Marcus as the crowd parts on instinct. The distance between them collapses and Rivera stops close enough to see the scar clearly. "Tell them," Rivera says, voice low. "Tell them you're him." Marcus inhales, slow, measured, then gives one small nod. And in that nod, the entire room finally understands. The quiet custodian isn't invisible. He's been choosing silence. 10 minutes after Rivera's words, the auditorium still feels rearranged, like the air itself has learned a new hierarchy. The string quartet stops without being told. Champagne flutes hover halfway to lips, forgotten. The lilies smell sharper now, almost sour, under the heat of stage lights and the weight of staring eyes. Dr. Richard Brennan clears his throat, stepping into the aisle with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. His fingers tug once at his jacket hem, an unconscious reset. "Colonel Rivera, of course we respect," he begins, voice polished. Rivera doesn't move. "Respect isn't a banner," he says, quiet enough that everyone leans in. "Respect is behavior." Brennan's nostrils flare, his gaze flicks calculating toward donors. "Marcus is an employee," he says, trying to shrink a life into a job title. "We're here to—" A chair scrapes in the third row, then another. Staff Sergeant Daniel Klein stands first, spine straight, jaw clenched so hard a muscle jumps near his ear. He looks at Marcus, then at Brennan. "With all due respect, sir," Klein says, the words clipped and controlled. "You don't get to talk about him like he's inventory." From the back, 3 men rise, Riverside alumni in their 30s, shoulders squared in suits that can't hide military posture. One is Lieutenant Aaron Delgado, Navy, clean-cut with a faint burn scar along his wrist. Next to him stands Major Ethan Holloway, Army, heavy-browed, eyes bright with restrained anger. The third, Captain Samuel Price, Air Force, keeps his hands folded, but his thumbs grind against each other like he's holding a line. Delgado's voice carries. "I know that name," he says. "Webb. Fallujah stories circulate. Not the loud ones, the real ones." Holloway nods once, hard. "My battalion commander trained under Rivera. He told us about the Marine who took the hit so the stack could move." Brennan's smile collapses into something thin and frightened. His eyes dart to Whitmore, searching for an ally the way men always do when status starts failing. Thomas Whitmore sits rigid, face blotched at the neck. His earlier laughter is gone, replaced by a tight, defensive swallow. His gaze lands on Marcus's collar, on the scar, then drops to the floor like it burns. Ashley Carmichael's posture shifts too. She keeps her chin lifted, but her mouth trembles once at the corner. She blinks quickly, too fast, as if she can erase what she said. When her eyes finally meet Marcus's, there's a flash of panic, then a forced softness. "Marcus," she says, voice suddenly careful, "I didn't realize I'm sorry." Marcus's expression stays composed, but a tiny muscle near his cheek tightens. Pain contained, not performed. He nods once, not acceptance, not forgiveness, just acknowledgement that words have been heard. Rivera steps half a pace forward, turning the room into a courtroom without raising his voice. "There's another point," he says, eyes on Brennan now. "His Navy Cross paperwork. It goes missing. Years. He never chases it. He never asks for a stage. And you let him be treated like a convenience." Brennan tries to recover. He lifts his palms, a gesture meant to soothe. "If there was an administrative oversight, we can correct it internally." "Not internally," Rivera says. "Correctly." He looks toward the side aisle where a school board member sits. Evelyn Parkhurst, 61, silver hair in a precise bob, glasses catching the stage light. She has watched the entire exchange without moving, but now she sets her program down with slow intent. The motion is small, the authority behind it is not. "Dr. Brennan," Parkhurst says, each syllable measured. "Come speak with me. Now." Brennan's face twitches, one involuntary flinch at the word now, because it echoes Whitmore's command in the hallway. He opens his mouth, then closes it. He nods too quickly. "Of course." As Brennan walks, the crowd parts without warmth. Whispers follow him, sharper than applause. A donor's wife covers her mouth, eyes narrowed, as if she's doing mental math on reputations. Rivera turns back to Marcus, and the fury drains from his features into something quieter. Gratitude edged with regret. He lowers his voice. "You don't have to say anything," he tells him, "but you shouldn't be carrying this alone." Marcus's fingers flex once at his side, then settle. He looks at the audience, at the plaque outside, the wall of honor that people pass without seeing. He inhales slowly, jaw working as if he's swallowing 1,000 unsaid things. "I'm here to do my job," Marcus says, voice steady. "So, let me." The simplicity lands harder than any speech. Olivia Hartman's eyes shine. She presses her lips together to keep them from shaking. Klein gives a small, sharp nod. Soldier to soldier, no extra ceremony. Whitmore stands abruptly, chair legs scraping loud. He steps toward Marcus, hands half raised like he's approaching an animal he's startled. "Mr. Webb," he says, swallowing, "I owe you an apology. That coffee." Marcus looks at him, not angry, not pleased, just present. "It's cleaned," he answers. Whitmore's face tightens, shame flushing up under his collar. Ashley takes a step forward too, then stops, realizing she has no right to force closure. Rivera places himself beside Marcus, not above him. "Then we do this the right way," Rivera says to the room. "Starting tonight." And as the crowd finally begins to clap, hesitant at first, then building, Marcus doesn't bow. He doesn't smile for them. He simply turns, picks up the next stack of chairs, and carries them with the same careful precision he always has, while the people who once ignored him stand in the wake of their own silence. 3 weeks later, Riverside's hallway holds a different kind of quiet. The lemon polish still bites at the air, radiators still tick, but the sound of shoes changes. Less swagger, more awareness. Morning sun slides across the wall of honor, and now a new framed photo sits among the names. Marcus Webb in dress blues, eyes level, jaw set. Marcus pushes his cart past it anyway, keys still silent. A freshman steps aside without being asked. Marcus's mouth tightens in surprise, then eases. At 7:12 a.m., Olivia Hartman catches him swapping out a trash liner with the same exactness he uses to square a rug. "They're saying your medal ceremony is next month," she whispers, like she's afraid gratitude might spook him. Marcus nods once. His gaze flicks up to a ceiling vent as a helicopter passes miles away. His shoulders lift a hair, then settle as he exhales through his nose, controlled. "Noise," he says, and the word carries history without demanding pity. Daniel Klein stops by the trophy case, hands clasped behind his back. "You could do anything," he says quietly. "Why stay here?" Marcus meets his eyes. A faint crease forms between his brows, not anger, consideration. "Because kids watch how you treat people you don't need," he answers. "And because work doesn't define who you are. How you do it does." While Marcus's story is fictional, the invisible veteran transition is real. After the Second Battle of Fallujah during the Iraq War, 2004, many combat veterans returned to civilian jobs far below their skill level. In 2023, about 2% of U.S. veterans report a service-connected disability rating of 70% or higher, VA Annual Benefits Report, often affecting sleep and concentration. Programs like DoD's Transition Assistance Program, updated repeatedly. Major reforms in the 2010s aim to reduce these gaps, but stigma persists. That afternoon, a new custodian asks, half joking, "So, why not a better job?" Marcus lifts a mop handle, posture straight, collar still high. "This is a good job," he says, and there's peace in how little he needs to prove. If this kind of dignity matters, subscribe. More stories are coming, and they won't let quiet courage stay unnoticed.